Hi there, and welcome back to the garden. I'm Eleanor. Before we dig in, I'd love to hear from you down in the comments. What's the cheapest little thing you've ever done in your yard that made the biggest difference? I do love a good budget win, and I'll bet some of you have brilliant thrifty tricks that the rest of us would love to steal. So share yours, because today is all about exactly that. Here's something I believe with my whole heart, and I've watched it prove true 100 times over. A front yard that looks expensive almost never comes from spending a fortune. I've seen homes with thousands and thousands of dollars poured into their landscaping that still somehow look off, stiff, or sparse, or unkempt. And I've seen the most modest little houses on the most modest budgets that look like they belong on the cover of a magazine, and the difference, every single time, is not money. It's care, and it's a handful of clever, simple choices made in the right places. Curb appeal is far, far more about thoughtfulness than it is about cash. And that's such good news for all of us, isn't it? Because it means a beautiful front yard is within everyone's reach. Yours included, no matter your budget. So today I'm sharing 10 front yard landscaping ideas on a budget. Simple, affordable, high-impact projects, and most of them you can do in a single weekend for very little money, sometimes for nothing at all. No expensive contractors, no fancy materials, no complicated plans, just smart, satisfying, do-it-yourself ideas that make your home look polished, welcoming, and far more expensive than it actually cost. And here's my promise to you. Do even 3 or 4 of these, and your neighbors will genuinely start to wonder if you hired a professional designer. So pour yourself a cup of coffee, get comfortable, and if you love an easy, beautiful yard, tap that subscribe button. It truly helps this little channel grow. All right, let's get you that big curb appeal on a small budget. Let's start with the single highest impact, lowest cost thing you can possibly do for your entire yard, and it's the one I'd do first if I could only do one. Lay down a fresh layer of mulch. I am not exaggerating even a little when I tell you that nothing else gives you so much wow for so few dollars. A bag of mulch costs just a few dollars, but spread fresh and dark across your beds, it instantly makes everything look finished, rich, intentional, and expensive, exactly as if a professional crew had just been by. And it isn't only about looks. Mulch is quietly doing 3 important jobs all at once. First, it gives your beds that deep, dark, magazine-worthy background that makes the colors of your plants absolutely pop. Second, it smothers weeds before they can even sprout, which saves you hours and hours of weeding all summer long. And third, it locks precious moisture into the soil, so you water far less, and your plants stay healthier through the heat. One single afternoon, a few bags of mulch, and your whole front yard looks brand new. Now let me give you the how-to so you get it just right. Spread your mulch about 2 to 3 inches deep across the beds. Any thinner, and weeds will push right through it. Any thicker, and you can smother your plants. And please, never pile it up in tall cones against the stems and trunks of your plants. Those mulch volcanoes trap moisture against the bark and cause rot. Keep the mulch pulled back a couple of inches from every stem and trunk in the shape of a donut, not a volcano. And here's a point I feel strongly about. Choose a natural dark mulch, a shredded hardwood or pine bark in brown or black. I'd gently steer you well away from that bright, dyed red or orange mulch. To my eye, it looks artificial and, honestly, cheap, and it can fade to an odd color. A natural dark mulch, on the other hand, looks rich, understated, and high-end, and it sets off your plants like a beautiful dark frame around a painting. My tip: you don't need to rake out and remove the old mulch every year. That's a lot of needless work. Just rake what's there to loosen and freshen it, and add a thin new layer on top each spring to restore that deep, dark, just-done color. It's the cheapest, fastest, most dramatic makeover in all of gardening, hands down. Fresh mulch is your single biggest budget win. Now let's add the one free thing that makes a yard look truly professional, number 2. Number 2 costs you absolutely nothing but a little honest sweat, and it might just be the single biggest "this looks professional" signal there is, a crisp, clean, defined edge where your beds meet the lawn. Let me explain the magic of this because it's remarkable. A sharp, defined edge works exactly like a frame around a painting. It instantly tells the eye, this is intentional, this is cared for, someone tends this place. Take 2 identical yards with the very same plants. Give one of them crisp, clean edges and let the other one's beds dissolve messily and vaguely into the surrounding grass. The yard with the clean edges will look twice as expensive and twice as cared for every single time. It is genuinely that powerful, and it costs you not 1 penny. And it couldn't be simpler to do. All you need is a flat spade, what's often called an edging spade, or one of those half-moon edging tools. Working along the border of each bed, push the blade straight down and cut a clean little trench about 3 to 4 inches deep, angling it slightly to create a small V-shaped channel between the lawn and the mulch. That defined edge does 3 things. It stops the grass from creeping into your beds, it gives your fresh mulch a tidy place to sit, and it creates that beautiful, sharp, professional line. A whole front yard's worth of beds can be edged this way in a single afternoon, and the transformation is genuinely dramatic. People always notice, even if they can't quite say why. And do you see how our first 2 ideas work hand in hand? The crisp edge holds and contains the fresh mulch, and the fresh mulch fills and completes the crisp edge. Do those 2 simple things together, a few bags of mulch and 1 afternoon with a spade, and your beds will already look like a professional crew did them, for almost nothing. My tip, I'd steer you away from that wavy plastic edging you see at the store. It tends to heave up out of the ground over winter, it cracks in the sun, and frankly, it cheapens the whole look. A simple cut spade edge, recut once or twice a season to keep it sharp, looks far more expensive and costs you nothing at all. Crisp edges are free curb appeal. Now let's reshape the whole feel of your yard for next to nothing. Number 3. Number 3 reshapes the entire feel and proportion of your yard, using one humble tool you almost certainly already own, a garden hose. Curve and expand your beds. Here's a problem I see in so many yards. The beds are small, stingy, and straight-edged, just a thin little strip of plants hugging the front of the house, marooned and lonely in a great big sea of lawn. It looks sparse, awkward, and unfinished, no matter how nice the plants themselves are, and 2 simple, nearly free changes will completely transform it. The first is to make your beds bigger and more generous. A deeper, fuller bed gives you the room to layer your plants properly and looks lush, abundant, and intentional, instead of thin and mean. And the second is to give those beds soft, flowing curves instead of stiff, straight lines, which instantly makes the whole yard feel relaxed, natural, graceful, and high-end. And here is the wonderfully simple, completely free design trick that the professionals use to lay this out. Take an ordinary garden hose and lay it down on the ground in the curve and the size you're imagining for your new bed. Then, and this is the important part, walk all the way out to the curb and look back at it from the street, the way a visitor sees your home. Adjust the hose until the shape feels graceful and easy. You want long, smooth, confident sweeps, not fussy little wiggles. Once it looks right from the street, simply cut your new edge along the line of the hose, dig out the new section, and mulch it. You've just redesigned the entire layout of your front yard for the grand price of nothing at all. And here's a lovely bonus that pays you back. Bigger curved beds mean less lawn to mow, water, and fertilize. So you're actually trading a weekly chore for lasting beauty. It's a win on every side. My tip? When you expand a bed, you absolutely do not need to rush out and fill the whole new space with expensive plants right away. Just mulch the fresh area. It looks tidy and finished even when it's mostly mulch, and then fill it in gradually and cheaply over time with the free plants we're about to talk about. Patience is a budget gardener's best friend. Curved, generous beds transform the whole yard. And now let's fill them, completely for free. Number 4. Number 4 is, I think, my very favorite money saver in all of gardening, because it gives you brand new plants for absolutely, completely free. Divide your perennials. Let me let you in on a little secret that the garden centers would honestly rather you didn't know. Most perennials, your hostas, daylilies, ornamental grasses, coneflowers, black-eyed Susans, irises, coral bells, and so many more, naturally grow into bigger and bigger clumps with each passing year. And every few years, you can simply dig up one of those big clumps and split it apart into 2, 3, or even 5 separate pieces, and each piece will grow into a full, complete new plant. So a single plant that you bought years ago can become a whole bed's worth of plants for nothing but a little time and effort. It feels like magic, and it's the way experienced gardeners have filled their gardens beautifully and affordably for generations. And do you remember those gorgeous repeating drifts and masses that make a garden look so designed and expensive? This is exactly how you create them on a budget. You buy one of something you love, you let it grow and settle in for a couple of years, you divide it, and then you spread those free divisions in repeating groups all around your yard. One original plant multiplied into that high-end professional look. And as a bonus, dividing actually keeps the parent plant healthier, younger, and blooming better. So everyone wins. Here's how to do it. In early spring or in fall, the cooler, gentler times of year, dig up the whole clump with a spade. Then either gently pull it apart with your hands or slice down through it with the spade into sections, making sure each piece has both roots and growing shoots. Replant your divisions right away at the same depth, water them in well, and that's all there is to it. And here's a wonderful, warm-hearted bonus. Gardeners are some of the most generous people you'll ever meet. So ask your neighbors, your friends, or a local garden club whether they have any divisions to share. Most folks are absolutely delighted to hand you a box of free plants when they're splitting their own, and you'll often make a lovely friend in the bargain. My tip? Just water your new divisions faithfully for the first few weeks while they settle in and find their feet, and you'll barely lose a beat. Free plants, healthier originals, and those expensive-looking drifts. All for nothing at all. Free plants from division, truly unbeatable. Now let's make a few inexpensive plants look like a fortune. Number 5. Number 5 is a clever designer's trick that makes inexpensive plants look genuinely high-end, and the lovely irony is that it actually costs you less. Buy cheap, but plant in masses and repeat. Here's the common, well-meaning mistake that quietly drains people's budgets and still leaves their yard looking sparse. Buying one each of 10 different, often pricey plants. It costs a fortune, and the result looks scattered, busy, and a bit chaotic, with no rhyme or reason. The professionals do exactly the opposite, and here's the beautiful part. It's actually cheaper. They choose just a few inexpensive, reliable, hard-working plants, and they buy many of each, then plant them in generous groups and repeat them throughout the yard. Because here's a truth about how our eyes work. Abundance always reads as luxury. A big, bold, confident drift of one simple, cheap plant looks far more expensive and intentional than a jumbled collection of one of everything. So, pick a small cast of budget-friendly, easy, dependable plants, perhaps one tough perennial, one ornamental grass, and one flowering ground cover, and buy them in quantity. And here's a real money-saving tip within the tip. Look for the small, inexpensive starter pots rather than the big, expensive, instant gratification specimens. Little plants cost a fraction of the price, and they catch up astonishingly fast. Within a season or two, you genuinely cannot tell the difference, except in your wallet. Plant them in odd-numbered groups of 3, 5, or 7, and then echo that very same plant in a few different spots across the yard to create rhythm and that cohesive, designed flow. The result is a calm, harmonious, expensive-looking landscape for a small fraction of what the one-of-everything approach would have cost you. Fewer types, more of each, repeated throughout. That, right there, is the budget designer's secret formula. My tip: buy small, buy in bulk, and be patient. A whole flat of small perennials often costs less than a few of the big specimen pots, and within a year or two you simply cannot tell which is which. Your patience is rewarded in both beauty and savings. Mass and repeat cheap plants for a rich designed look. Now let's create an instant focal point for just a few dollars. Number 6. Number 6 gives your yard an instant, affordable focal point and a warm, welcoming touch, all in one. A beautiful container, or even better, a matching pair of them. Now, every well-designed yard needs a focal point to anchor the eye and give it somewhere to land. But that focal point doesn't have to be an expensive tree or a costly statue. A single, large, handsome pot, or a matching pair, one on each side of your front door, does the job beautifully, and it instantly makes your entrance look intentional, elegant, and cared for. It's one of the very fastest and most affordable ways to lift your whole curb appeal in an afternoon. Here's the key, and it's the mistake most people make. Go bigger than you think you should with the pot. One large, generous container has far more presence and looks far more expensive than several little ones scattered timidly about. Those just look fussy and cluttered, and you truly don't need a pricey designer pot. A simple large container, or even an attractive repurposed one, looks wonderful once it's planted up. As for what to put in it, just remember the designer's simple recipe. Something tall in the center for height, they call it the thriller. Something rounded and colorful filling the middle, the filler. And something that trails and spills gracefully over the edge, the spiller. Thriller, filler, and spiller. Follow that, and your pot will look professionally designed. And here is the real budget beauty of a container. You can refresh that very same pot with the seasons, cheaply and easily. Bright, cheerful annuals in summer, golden mums in fall, evergreen boughs and branches in winter. So your entrance looks alive, current, and lovingly tended all year round, all from one inexpensive pot and a few seasonal plants. My tip: place your container where it counts the very most, right beside the front door or at the spot where your walkway meets the driveway, so it greets every single visitor. And use a good quality potting mix with a little moisture-retaining material or a self-watering pot to keep your watering quick and easy through the summer heat. A focal container is instant, affordable, welcoming curb appeal. Now let's transform the whole house for the price of a can of paint. Number 7. Number 7 isn't a plant at all, but it transforms your curb appeal dramatically for about the price of a single can of paint. Refresh your front door and your entry details. Think about it for a moment. Your front door is the true focal point of your whole house. It's where the eye naturally lands, and it's where a visitor's entire first impression of your home is formed. And a fresh coat of paint on that door, in a color you genuinely love, is one of the single most dramatic and affordable upgrades you can possibly make. A crisp, confident navy, a warm, welcoming red, a cheerful, sunny yellow, a soft, elegant sage green. A freshly painted front door makes the entire house look updated, intentional, and far more expensive, all for the cost of a small can of paint and one pleasant afternoon's work. And then, add in the little finishing details, the ones that quietly whisper, "Someone lovely lives here, and they take good care of this place." Clean or replace your house numbers so they're stylish and easy to read from the street. Lay down a fresh, clean doormat. Polish up or replace the door hardware and that tired old porch light fixture. Hang a simple, seasonal wreath on the door. Give the windows a good wash and wipe down the door itself. None of these things cost very much at all, but together they make your entrance look sharp, intentional, and genuinely welcoming. And do you remember our idea about framing the entrance with a focal container? Pair that freshly painted door with a pair of planters on either side, and you have created a warm, polished, beautifully framed focal point that lifts the entire front of your home, all on a shoestring budget. My tip: when you're choosing a door color, pick one that complements your home's main color but stands out enough to draw the eye and make a statement. And then tie it all together by echoing that same color somewhere else, in a planter, a doormat, or a porch cushion. That little bit of intentional coordination reads as expensive and designed, and it costs almost nothing. A fresh door and tidy details. Enormous impact. Tiny budget. Now let's make your yard glow beautifully at night. Number 8. Number 8 doubles your curb appeal by adding a whole new time of day, the nighttime, and you can do it cheaply with no electrician required at all. Outdoor lighting. Here's what so many people completely forget. For a good half of the year, especially through the fall and winter, you and your guests arrive home in the dark. And if your yard simply vanishes into a black, featureless void the moment the sun goes down, then you are losing fully half of its beauty and all of its welcome every single evening. But a few well-placed lights? Oh, it's pure magic. The right lighting turns your home into something that glows warmly and invitingly from the curb at night. It highlights your best features, it creates depth, drama, and inviting shadow, and it makes the whole place feel high-end, safe, and lovingly cared for. Honestly, good lighting is one of the very biggest wow upgrades there is, and it's far, far cheaper than most people imagine. Start simply and affordably with solar path lights along your walkway. They couldn't be easier. There's no wiring at all. You literally just push them into the ground, and they charge themselves by day and glow softly by night, gently guiding your guests to the door. Then, once you've got the bug, add a couple of inexpensive, low-voltage uplights at the base of a beautiful tree, or angled up against an interesting part of the house. That upward light creates gorgeous, dramatic shadows and makes a special feature really sing after dark. Let me give you a few gentle guidelines so that it looks elegant and expensive rather than like a landing strip. First, always choose warm white light, never harsh blue-white. Warm light is so much cozier and more high-end. Second, remember that less is more. You are creating soft pools of light and inviting pockets of shadow, not flooding the whole yard like a stadium. And third, tuck the fixtures themselves out of sight where you can, so that what people notice is the lovely light, not the hardware. My tip: if you're just dipping your toe in, good solar path lights are the perfect no-risk first step. Inexpensive, no wiring, and glowing this very night. Then add a small low-voltage uplight kit later, when you're ready, for that real designer touch. Even just 2 or 3 well-placed lights make a remarkable difference. Affordable lighting brings your whole yard to life after dark. Now let's add some lasting texture and structure with stone. Number 9. Number 9 adds texture, structure, and a polished, permanent, finished feeling to your yard using affordable stone and gravel. Simple, do-it-yourself hardscape. Plants are wonderful, of course, but a truly great yard also needs a little bit of what designers call hardscape. The stone, the gravel, the pathways and edges that give a garden its bones, its structure, and that lovely sense of being finished and walkable. And the very good news is that you do not need expensive paving or a hired contractor to get it. A few simple, affordable touches do absolute wonders. A simple gravel path winding gracefully to a side gate, or a few flat stepping stones set across a worn, muddy patch of lawn instantly looks intentional and charming. And it solves that muddy shortcut problem at the very same time. A neat border of natural stones or a small dry stacked stone edge along a bed adds a high-end permanent frame that plants alone simply can't provide. Gravel, in particular, is wonderfully budget-friendly and surprisingly versatile. It makes a low-cost, crunchy, charming path. It works as a tidy, attractive mulch for a dry, sunny bed full of those drought-loving plants we talked about. And it makes a clean, finished surface to stand your containers on. A bag of decorative stone or a small load of gravel delivered costs very little, but it adds that designer texture and a real sense of permanence and structure. And here's a budget bonus that keeps on giving. Hardscape replaces the high-maintenance areas of your yard. A gravel path or a little stone seating nook means that's one less patch of lawn to mow, water, and fuss over. So it actually pays you back in saved time and effort year after year. My tip: whenever you lay gravel or set stepping stones, put down a layer of landscape fabric underneath first. That one simple, cheap step stops weeds from pushing up through your beautiful new hardscape, and it keeps everything looking crisp and tidy for years, with almost no upkeep at all. Affordable stone and gravel add lasting structure and charm. And for our 10th and final idea, the ultimate budget secret of all, number 10. And here is number 10, the ultimate budget secret that fills your yard with abundant color for just a few pennies. Grow from seed, from cuttings, and from self-seeders. Just think about this for a moment. A single packet of flower seeds costs about the same as one small plant. But inside it are dozens, sometimes even hundreds of potential flowers. Easy, cheerful annuals like zinnias, cosmos, marigolds, sunflowers, and nasturtiums grow quickly and easily from seed, and they bloom their hearts out all summer long. You can scatter them right where you want a splash of color, filling all the gaps between your permanent plants for next to nothing. For the cost of a few cups of coffee, you can have an entire front yard brimming with cut and come-again color all season. And here's how to make it even better. Choose self-seeding annuals. Flowers like cosmos, larkspur, poppies, nigella, and cleome will drop their own seeds at the end of the season and come back, all on their own, year after year, completely free. You plant them just once, you let a few of the final flowers go to seed instead of deadheading them, and they reappear faithfully the next year without you spending a single cent or lifting a finger. It's a garden that quite literally replants itself. And don't forget cuttings. So many plants, many shrubs and perennials and ground covers will root easily from a simple cutting. You just snip off a healthy piece, pop it into some moist soil or even a glass of water, and before long you have a brand new plant, absolutely free. It's a wonderful, almost magical way to multiply the plants you already love and to share them with friends and neighbors. My tip: to get a head start on the season, sow a few seeds in trays on a sunny windowsill in early spring, then plant the little seedlings out once the weather warms. Or, even simpler, just sow them directly into the ground once the soil has warmed up. Sprinkle, water gently, and watch in delight as your budget yard fills itself with color. Seeds, cuttings, and self-seeders give you endless color for pennies. Now let's bring it all together. And there you have it, 10 front yard landscaping ideas on a budget, from a few humble bags of mulch and a crisp spade edge, all the way to a yard that quite literally replants itself from seed. And I do hope you can see the golden thread running through every single one of them. Big, beautiful curb appeal comes from care and cleverness, not from a big checkbook. It always has. So please don't feel you have to do all 10 at once and overwhelm yourself. Just pick one or two for this coming weekend. Maybe it's fresh mulch and a crisp edge, or maybe it's a freshly painted door and a pair of pretty pots, and you will already see a real, noticeable difference. Small, affordable, intentional steps add up, season by season, to a home you're truly proud of. So tell me down in the comments, which of these are you going to tackle first? And don't forget the question I asked at the very start. What's the cheapest little thing that's made the biggest difference in your yard? Do share it, along with your growing zone, because your clever budget trick might just be the perfect spark of inspiration for someone else watching right now. I so love swapping ideas back and forth with all of you. And while you're down there, do go and say a friendly hello to another gardener. This little community of ours really is the very best part of all this for me. Now, coming up next, 10 evergreen shrubs that keep your yard looking beautiful all year long, even in the dead of winter, when everything else has gone bare. If your yard goes sad and empty in the cold months, this is the fix you've been waiting for. So make sure you're subscribed with that bell turned on. Until next time, this is Eleanor. Keep your hands in the soil and your heart in the garden. Take care now. Bye-bye.